My name is Carl Peterson, 65 years old and retired construction foreman from Oakwood County. 3 years ago, my beloved wife Margaret passed after 35 years of marriage, leaving behind our only daughter Amanda and me. That diamond wedding ring was the last precious memento I had of Margaret. We always said Amanda would wear it at her wedding someday. When I found the display case empty last month, my heart nearly stopped. I confronted Amanda about it. Her smirk as she casually admitted selling it for her wedding still haunts me. Before I continue this story, I would love to know where you are watching from today. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to hear what was actually found inside that ring box. Trust me, you will not believe it. Margaret and I met during the summer of '77 at the Oakwood County Fair. I was 20 at the time, working with my father in our family construction business. She was volunteering at the local kindergarten booth, her auburn hair catching the golden sunlight. I remember pretending to be interested in their fundraiser just to talk to her. When I finally gathered enough courage to ask for her number, she smiled and said, "I thought you would never ask." That smile never changed over our 35 years together. We married a year later in a simple ceremony at her parents' backyard. We could not afford much, but Margaret always said it was perfect. Her grandmother, Eleanor, presented us with the diamond ring during the reception. "This ring has been in our family for 4 generations," she told us. "It brings love that lasts a lifetime." The ring was stunning. A 1-carat diamond in a vintage setting with intricate engravings along the band. But what made it truly special was the antique ring box. Hand-carved from rosewood with velvet lining, it had been custom-made for her great-grandmother in 1900. Our early years were spent building our first home together. I literally built it with my own hands, working evenings and weekends while Margaret planned every detail. She had this incredible vision for turning a simple house into a warm, loving home. Every Sunday, we would walk through the construction site, and she would describe where each piece of furniture would go, how the morning light would shine through the kitchen window while she made breakfast, how our future children would play in the backyard. Margaret became a kindergarten teacher, perfect for her nurturing spirit. The children adored her, and she came home each day with stories about their antics and innocent questions. She had this special ability to see the world through a child's eyes, finding wonder in the smallest things. I would sometimes stop by her classroom after work and watch her reading to her students, all of them sitting cross-legged on the carpet, completely captivated by her animated storytelling. Having our own child proved challenging. For 7 years, we tried without success. I still remember the day Margaret called me at work, her voice trembling with excitement. The pregnancy test was positive. Those 9 months were filled with nursery preparations, parenting books, and Margaret talking to her growing belly every night, telling our baby about the amazing world waiting outside. Amanda arrived on a stormy April night. 10 hours of labor, and Margaret never complained once. When they placed our daughter in her arms, Margaret looked at me with tears streaming down her face and whispered, "We did it, Carl. We finally did it." Amanda was perfect. Tiny fingers, button nose, and lungs that let the entire maternity ward know she had arrived. The bond between Margaret and Amanda was something special from the beginning. As Amanda grew, they developed all these little traditions together. Saturday morning pancakes with chocolate chips, arranged in smiley faces. Sunday afternoon nature walks, where they collected interesting leaves and rocks. Annual Christmas ornament making that resulted in our tree being decorated with decades of handmade memories. Margaret was intentional about teaching Amanda our family values. Kindness was non-negotiable in our household. Generosity was practiced, not just preached. And above all, Margaret emphasized that family connections were the most valuable possession anyone could have. "Things break, money comes and goes, but family is forever," she would tell Amanda. I thought those lessons had taken root. The diamond ring held special significance beyond its monetary value. Margaret cherished it, wearing it every day except when gardening or baking. She would often twist it on her finger when deep in thought, a habit I came to find endearing. On their special mother-daughter days, Margaret would tell Amanda the stories behind the ring, how it had been worn by strong women through wars, economic depressions, and personal hardships. The ring box itself had a secret that Margaret only showed Amanda on her 16th birthday. There was a hidden compartment in the base, revealed by pressing a nearly invisible seam in the velvet lining. "This is where the women in our family have kept their most precious memories," Margaret explained. I had never seen what Margaret kept in there, respecting that some traditions were meant to remain between mother and daughter. When Margaret was diagnosed with breast cancer, the diamond ring became a symbol of her strength. During chemotherapy sessions, she would focus on that ring, telling me it reminded her of all the women in her family who had overcome their own challenges. "If they could do it, so can I," she would say, her voice weak but determined. For 18 months, we fought together. Margaret maintained her positive spirit, even as the disease progressed. Amanda moved back home temporarily to help with her care. Those were precious months, despite the circumstances. Our small family united, reminiscing about happier times and creating new memories, even in the shadow of what was coming. In her final days, Margaret made me promise several things: to take care of myself and not withdraw from life, to continue our family traditions, especially the holiday gatherings she loved so much, and most importantly, to make sure the diamond ring stayed in the family, eventually passing to Amanda on her wedding day. "Carl," she said, holding my hand with what little strength she had left, "make sure she understands what this ring really means. It is not about the diamond or the gold. It is about the love that has flowed through generations of our family, a love that never ends, even when we are gone." I promised her I would. It was the last conversation we had before she slipped into unconsciousness. 3 days later, she was gone. The first months after Margaret passed were a blur of paperwork, well-meaning visitors bringing casseroles, and the suffocating silence of our home. I would wake up reaching for her, only to find her side of the bed cold and empty. Her closet remained untouched, her gardening hat still hanging by the back door, her reading glasses on the nightstand. I could not bear to move anything, as if preserving these small traces of her presence might somehow keep her with me. Every day had its moments of ambush: catching her favorite song on the radio, finding her handwriting on a recipe card, the smell of her perfume lingering in her scarves. Each discovery would knock the wind out of me, and I would have to sit down and catch my breath. Grief counselors call these moments aftershocks, but no clinical term captures the visceral pain of these reminders. I created a special display case for her diamond ring, a small handcrafted wooden box with a glass top that I placed on our dresser. Every night before bed, I would look at it and talk to Margaret, telling her about my day, about Amanda, about how much I missed her. It became a ritual that provided some comfort in those dark months. Amanda grieved differently. She threw herself into her marketing career, working long hours and taking on extra projects. Our Sunday dinners became less frequent as she claimed work deadlines and other commitments. When she did visit, conversations remained surface level. We both avoided talking about her mother, as if mentioning Margaret might break the fragile composure we had managed to construct. 6 months after the funeral, Amanda started seeing a grief counselor. I was relieved, hoping it would help her process what happened rather than bury it under work and busyness. Gradually, she seemed more like herself. She would share memories of her mother without immediately changing the subject. She started coming for dinner more regularly again. We began to find a new normal, different and diminished, but still containing moments of genuine connection. Then Jason Thompson entered the picture. Amanda mentioned him casually at first, just a new client at her marketing firm. Within weeks, he was all she talked about. Jason this, Jason that. Son of William Thompson, the real estate developer responsible for half the luxury condominiums in our city. Educated at private schools and an Ivy League university. Connected to people with influence and money. Their first date was at a restaurant where the menu had no prices. Their second was a helicopter tour of the coastline. By the third month, Jason was taking her to Paris for the weekend, just because. It all seemed excessive to me, but Amanda was happier than I had seen her since before Margaret got sick. Who was I to question it? I met Jason at a dinner. Amanda arranged at an upscale restaurant downtown. He arrived 20 minutes late, offering a vague excuse about an important call. Immaculately dressed in what I later learned was a $3,000 suit, he spent most of the evening checking his phone and dropping names of celebrities he apparently knew personally. When the check came, he made a show of paying with a black credit card, making sure I noticed. What troubled me most was how Amanda behaved around him. My confident, intelligent daughter became oddly deferential, laughing too loudly at his jokes, agreeing with his opinions before he had fully expressed them. She barely mentioned her own accomplishments at work, which had always made her so proud before. Instead, she seemed focused on being the perfect accessory to his carefully curated image. Still, I told myself this was just the excitement of new love. Margaret and I had gone through our own honeymoon phase where we were silly and perhaps a bit obsessed with each other. This would normalize over time. Amanda would remember who she was. 6 months into their relationship, Jason proposed at a 5-star resort in the Maldives. Amanda called me at 4 a.m, her voice bubbling with excitement as she described the private beach dinner, the violinist, the fireworks display, and finally, the 5-carat diamond ring that must have cost more than my entire retirement savings. "Dad, it is going to be the wedding of the century," she gushed. "Jason says we can have whatever I want, no budget limits. Can you believe it?" I congratulated her, of course. What father would dampen his daughter's engagement joy? But something felt off. This excessive display seemed at odds with the values Margaret and I had tried to instill. The Amanda I knew had always talked about wanting a meaningful wedding in our backyard, with close friends and family, good food, and personal touches. This sudden desire for extravagance felt like someone else speaking through my daughter. "Have you thought about using your mother's ring?" I asked cautiously. "You know she always wanted you to wear it on your wedding day." There was a pause before Amanda answered. "Oh, Dad, that is sweet, but it is not really my style anymore. Besides, you should see the ring Jason got me. It makes Mom's look like a trinket from a gumball machine." Her words stung, but I brushed them aside as wedding excitement talking. Everyone gets caught up in these things, I told myself. Once the planning settles down, my real daughter will return. But as the weeks passed, Amanda changed in subtle ways that became impossible to ignore. Her wardrobe transformed from professional to flashy, her natural beauty now enhanced with expensive cosmetic procedures, her speech peppered with references to exclusive places and luxury brands I had never heard of. Even her accent shifted slightly, her Midwestern vowels softening to match Jason's East Coast cadence. Our Sunday dinners became monthly, then quarterly. When she did visit, Jason usually accompanied her, monopolizing conversations with stories about his business deals or social connections. Amanda would watch him with admiration, occasionally touching his arm or laughing at precisely the right moments, like an actress who had carefully rehearsed her supporting role. I missed my daughter, the real Amanda who used to curl up on our couch in sweatpants, eating ice cream straight from the container while we watched old movies. The woman who had her mother's compassion and quick wit. Somewhere beneath this polished exterior, I hoped she was still there. The wedding planning began with a budget discussion at an upscale restaurant downtown. Jason's parents, William and Catherine Thompson, arrived in a chauffeur-driven car, dressed as if attending a gallery opening rather than a family dinner. Amanda introduced me proudly, but I noticed how William glanced at my off-the-rack suit, and Catherine's eyes lingered on my scuffed shoes. "So, Carl," William began after ordering a $300 bottle of wine without consulting the menu, "we understand you are a builder of some sort?" "I owned Peterson Construction for 30 years, I explained. "Mostly residential projects. I retired 3 years ago, after my wife passed." "How quaint," Catherine murmured, in a tone that made it clear this was not a compliment. The conversation quickly turned to wedding plans, with Catherine producing a leather-bound portfolio containing magazine clippings, color swatches, and vendor information. "We have taken the liberty of securing Lakeside Country Club for the ceremony and reception," she announced. "It is the only venue worthy of a Thompson wedding." Amanda's eyes widened. "But that must cost a fortune." $250,000 for the basic package," Jason said casually. "But we will be adding several upgrades." I nearly choked on my water. That amount was more than twice what I had in my entire retirement account. When I built our family home, the total cost had been less than that. "I had always imagined Amanda getting married in our backyard," I said carefully. "Margaret planted those rose gardens specifically with Amanda's future wedding in mind." The silence that followed was excruciating. Jason and his parents exchanged glances that contained an entire conversation. Amanda looked at her plate. "Dad," she finally said, "that is a lovely thought, but this wedding needs to reflect our future, not our past. And Jason has connections and business associates who expect a certain standard." The Thompsons nodded approvingly, and just like that, my input was dismissed. As the evening progressed, the wedding evolved from a sacred family occasion into what sounded more like a networking event and society showcase. 800 guests, most of whom Amanda had never met. A designer flown in from Paris for a custom gown, budgeted at $35,000. Exotic flowers imported from 3 different continents. A 10-piece orchestra for the ceremony, and a famous DJ for the reception. "And how do you plan to contribute, Carl?" William eventually asked, his tone making it clear this was a formality rather than a genuine question. "I have some savings set aside for Amanda's wedding," I said. "About $20,000 that Margaret and I had been putting away since Amanda was born." William raised an eyebrow. "Perhaps that could cover the rehearsal dinner, at a more moderate venue, of course." The planning continued over the following weeks, with each decision pushing the budget higher and moving further from anything Margaret would have recognized as reflective of our family values. Amanda became increasingly preoccupied with impressing Jason's social circle. She joined the country club where many of his friends were members, taking up golf though she had always hated sports. She began referring to our middle-class neighborhood as where I grew up rather than home, as if distancing herself from her roots. One afternoon, while helping me clean the gutters, Amanda's new friend Tiffany from the country club called. I could not help overhearing Amanda's side of the conversation. "No, it is fine. Dad just does not understand how things work in our world now," she said, glancing at me. "You know how it is with parents from simple backgrounds. They mean well, but they just do not get the importance of appearances." Simple backgrounds. The phrase echoed in my mind long after she left. Margaret had been a kindergarten teacher. I built houses with my hands. We had provided a loving home, paid for Amanda's college education without loans, taught her the value of hard work and integrity. When did this become something to be embarrassed about? As the wedding date approached, tensions escalated. Amanda asked if she could look through Margaret's jewelry box for something borrowed. I was touched by this gesture, thinking perhaps some of her mother's values were resurfacing. But when I brought out the carefully preserved collection, Amanda barely glanced at the sentimental pieces, focusing instead on evaluating their potential monetary value. "Mom never had anything really valuable besides her wedding ring, did she?" she asked, disappointment evident in her voice. "Value is not always about price tags, Amanda," I said quietly. "Your mother treasured these pieces because of the memories attached to them, like this bracelet I gave her when you were born, or these pearl earrings from her mother." Amanda sighed. "That is nice, Dad, but I need something that will not look out of place with my $60,000 gown and Jason's family heirlooms." The comment about family heirlooms sparked an idea. "What about using your mother's wedding dress? We preserved it specially. It is a classic style that would look beautiful with some alterations." The look of horror on Amanda's face would have been comical if it had not been so hurtful. "Dad, Mom got married in 1978. I cannot possibly wear something so outdated. Besides, My designer has already created something exclusive. A few days later, during a dinner at my house, the conversation turned to wedding costs again. Jason mentioned casually that his parents had already contributed $700,000, but they were still facing shortfalls for some essential elements. Essential elements like what? I asked. The ice sculpture of Jason and me for the cocktail hour, Amanda explained, and the fireworks display. Oh, and we decided to add a second designer gown for the reception. I put down my fork. Amanda, do you realize how excessive this all sounds? Your mother and I taught you that relationships matter more than possessions, that love is about commitment, not spectacle. Dad, please do not start with the "in my day" lecture, Amanda said sharply. Times have changed. This wedding is important for our social standing. Your social standing? Or Jason's? I asked. Jason interjected. Mr. Peterson, with all due respect, Amanda deserves the best, if her own father cannot understand that. Mom would have wanted me to have the wedding of my dreams, Amanda added, her voice rising. She would have understood the importance of making the right impression on the right people. That statement cut deeper than anything else. Margaret, who had mended her own clothes to save money for Amanda's college fund. Margaret, who had chosen to teach at an underfunded public school rather than a prestigious private academy because every child deserves a good education. Margaret, who had worn the same wedding ring for 35 years with pride, never once wanting to upgrade it despite our improving financial situation. Your mother would have wanted you to remember what she valued, I said, my voice breaking slightly. And it was never about impressing people with money. You do not know what she would have wanted now, Amanda snapped. People evolve, Dad. Maybe if Mom had lived, she would have enjoyed some luxury too. I stood up, unable to continue the conversation. I think perhaps you should go. We are both saying things we might regret. Amanda grabbed her designer purse and jacket. Before leaving, she turned to me, tears in her eyes despite her angry expression. You just cannot be happy for me, can you? You are stuck in the past with Mom, and you want to keep me there too. The door slammed behind them, leaving me alone in the suddenly silent house. I wandered into our bedroom and stood before the display case containing Margaret's ring. I do not know what to do, I whispered to the empty room. I do not recognize our daughter anymore. 2 weeks before the wedding, I followed my evening ritual of sitting beside Margaret's ring display case, sharing the events of my day. The small talking helped ease the loneliness of the empty house, and somehow I felt she could hear me, even if just in my heart. I had done this every night since her passing, finding comfort in the routine and the connection to her memory. But that evening, when I looked at the hand-carved wooden display case, my blood ran cold. It was empty. The velvet cushion where her diamond ring always rested was bare. The hinged glass top stood open. My first thought was burglary, but there were no signs of forced entry. Nothing else in the house appeared disturbed. My television, laptop, and the cash I kept in my dresser drawer were all untouched. Only the ring was missing. Panic rising, I searched the entire house. Under furniture, between cushions, inside drawers. I checked the bathroom sink drains and even the garbage cans. Perhaps I had taken it out to clean the case and absent-mindedly set it down somewhere. But deep down, I knew this was not what had happened. With trembling hands, I called Amanda. The call went straight to voicemail. I left a message trying to keep my voice steady. Amanda, it is Dad. Your mother's ring is missing from its case. I need to talk to you right away. Please call me back as soon as you get this. I tried Jason's number next, but he did not answer either. I paced the house for hours, alternating between worry and a growing suspicion that I refused to fully acknowledge. Around midnight, exhausted but unable to sleep, I made a decision. I would drive to Amanda's apartment first thing in the morning. I arrived at her luxury high-rise at 7:30, knowing she usually left for work at 8. The doorman recognized me and allowed me up without calling ahead. Standing outside her door, I hesitated before knocking. Part of me wanted to turn around, to preserve the possibility that there was an innocent explanation. Once certain questions were asked, there would be no going back. Amanda opened the door on the third knock, already dressed for work in a sleek business suit. Her surprise at seeing me quickly shifted to something else. Wariness. Guilt. She knew why I was there. "Dad? What are you doing here so early? May I come in?" I asked, my voice calmer than I felt. She stepped aside reluctantly. Jason emerged from the bedroom, fastening an expensive watch to his wrist. "Mr. Peterson." He nodded, his tone carefully neutral. "Is everything all right?" "Margaret's ring is missing," I said, looking directly at Amanda. "Do you know anything about that?" The silence that followed was answer enough. Amanda and Jason exchanged glances, some unspoken communication passing between them. Finally, Amanda crossed her arms defensively. "We needed the money for the flower arrangements," she said, lifting her chin slightly. "The florist required the final payment last week." The words hit me like a physical blow. I had to lean against the wall to steady myself. "You took your mother's ring? Without asking me? Without even telling me?" "It was just sitting there in that case, Dad," Amanda replied, her voice taking on an edge of irritation. "Completely unused. What good was it doing anyone?" "That ring was meant for you to wear on your wedding day," I said, my voice breaking. "It was your mother's dying wish." Jason stepped forward, placing his hand on Amanda's shoulder. "With all due respect, sir, Amanda deserves something more current for our wedding. We were actually doing you a favor by making use of an outdated piece." "A favor?" I repeated, the word tasting bitter in my mouth. "Besides," Amanda added with a small, dismissive wave, "Jason bought me a much bigger ring, 5 carats, emerald cut, platinum setting. Mom's old 1 carat looked tiny in comparison." I stared at my daughter, this stranger in expensive clothes, with perfectly manicured nails, and not a trace of the compassion her mother had instilled in her. She actually smirked slightly as she spoke, as if selling her mother's precious heirloom was something clever she had done. "She made me promise, Amanda," I said quietly. "On her deathbed, I promised your mother that ring would stay in our family, that you would have it for your wedding. Dad, be practical. We needed $15,000 for the flowers, and the ring was just collecting dust. Jason is getting me a new wedding band anyway, much more fashionable." "$15,000? I echoed. "That ring was appraised at $28,000 3 years ago." Another glance between them. Jason cleared his throat. The jeweler explained that vintage settings actually decrease the value. They would need to remove the stone and reset it in something more contemporary to get full market value. The betrayal burned in my chest like physical pain. I remembered the moment Margaret's grandmother had presented us with that ring, the stories of the women who had worn it through world wars and economic depressions, never selling it even in the hardest times. I remembered Margaret's face when she told Amanda about the family history behind it on her 16th birthday. Most of all, I remembered my promise to my dying wife. "Where did you sell it?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "Someplace downtown." "Gabriel's fine jewelry," Amanda answered dismissively. "Dad, I have a meeting in 30 minutes. We can talk about this later if you really need to, but what is done is done." I turned to leave, unable to bear looking at her another moment. At the door, I paused without turning around. "Your mother would be heartbroken, not about the ring itself, but about what this says about your values." "Well, she is not here, is she?" Amanda replied coldly. "And I have a wedding to pay for." The drive home passed in a blur. I nearly ran a red light and had to swerve to avoid hitting a delivery truck. My hands shook on the steering wheel, and my vision blurred with unshed tears. I had faced many painful moments since losing Margaret, but nothing had prepared me for this particular kind of hurt from the person we had both loved most in the world. At home, I sat in my parked car for nearly an hour, unable to summon the energy to go inside. The house that had once been full of love and laughter now felt like a museum of broken promises and fading memories. Without Margaret's ring, I had lost the last physical connection to our vows, to the life we had built together. Finally, I went inside and made a pot of coffee. With shaking hands, I opened the phone book and began calling jewelry stores, starting with Gabriel's Fine Jewelry. The man who answered confirmed they had recently purchased a vintage diamond ring from a young woman. When I described Margaret's ring in detail, he paused. "Sir, I cannot discuss the details of transactions with non-clients," he said carefully. "But if you would like to come in and speak with the owner, Gabriel Morales, he might be able to assist you." It was the first glimmer of hope I had felt since discovering the empty display case. "I will be there in 30 minutes, I promised, already reaching for my car keys. Gabriel's Fine Jewelry was located in the historic district downtown, a small storefront with an antique brass sign and display windows featuring carefully arranged vintage pieces. A bell tinkled as I pushed open the door, and the scent of lemon polish and old wood greeted me. The interior was nothing like the sleek, modern jewelry stores in the malls. Glass cases lined the walls, their contents illuminated by soft lighting that made the gems sparkle without the harsh glare of fluorescent bulbs. A man in his 60s, with salt and pepper hair and wire-rimmed glasses, looked up from behind a counter where he was examining a pocket watch under a magnifying glass. "May I help you?" he asked, his accent hinting at Spanish origins. "My name is Carl Peterson," I said. "I called earlier about a vintage diamond ring that was sold to you recently. I believe it belonged to my late wife." Recognition flickered in his eyes. "Ah, yes. Mr. Peterson. I am Gabriel Morales, the owner." He extended his hand, which I shook briefly. "Please, come to my office, where we can speak privately." He led me to a small room behind the main showroom, furnished with an antique desk and comfortable leather chairs. Black and white photographs of what I assumed were 3 generations of jewelers hung on the walls. Gabriel gestured for me to sit. "Now, Mr. Peterson, I understand this is a sensitive matter. While I normally cannot discuss client transactions, I sense there is more to this situation than a simple sale." I took a deep breath. My wife Margaret passed away 3 years ago. That ring was a family heirloom that had been passed down through 4 generations of women in her family. On her deathbed, she made me promise it would go to our daughter Amanda on her wedding day. Gabriel nodded sympathetically. "And your daughter sold it instead?" Without my knowledge or permission, I confirmed. "It was kept in a special display case in my bedroom. She must have taken it when I was out." I reached into my pocket and unfolded a photograph taken on our 30th anniversary. Margaret was smiling at the camera, her hand placed deliberately to show the ring. I handed it to Gabriel, who studied it carefully. "Yes," he said softly. "This is indeed the piece that was brought in. A beautiful example of 1920s craftsmanship. The mill-grain details on the band are exquisite." "Do you still have it?" I asked, hope rising in my chest. Gabriel hesitated. "It has not gone on display yet. We always thoroughly clean and inspect estate pieces before offering them for sale. Currently, it is in our safe." "I need to buy it back," I said firmly. "I understand, Mr. Peterson, but there are complications. We paid $15,000 for the ring, based on the current market value of the diamond and gold. Its retail price would be significantly higher, closer to $30,000, due to its excellent condition and provenance." My heart sank. I did not have that kind of money readily available. What if I put down a deposit? I could get a loan or sell some other assets. Gabriel removed his glasses and polished them thoughtfully. "Normally, I would not consider holding merchandise, especially something as valuable as this ring. However, your situation, Island, unusual." He put his glasses back on and looked at me directly. "I can see how much this means to you. I could perhaps hold it for 2 weeks, off the market, while you arrange financing." Relief washed over me. "Thank you. You do not know what this means to me." "I think perhaps I do," Gabriel replied gently. "I lost my Isabella 5 years ago. There are some things that money cannot replace, yes? Some connections to those we have loved that are beyond price." I nodded. unable to speak past the lump in my throat. Over the next week, I explored every financial option available to me. The bank was sympathetic, but unwilling to approve a second mortgage on my house, given my retired status and fixed income. My savings account held only $23,000, money I had been setting aside for emergencies, and eventually, Amanda's wedding. I considered selling my 1965 Mustang, a restoration project Margaret and I had completed together, but even that would only bring in another $15,000 at most. I called several old colleagues from the construction business, inquiring discreetly about short-term loans. A few offered small amounts, but nowhere near what I needed. The stress began affecting my sleep and appetite. I would wake at 3 a.m, calculating and recalculating, trying to find a mathematical solution to what was essentially a problem of the heart. 7 days after my visit to Gabriel's shop, my phone rang just as I was finishing breakfast. It was Gabriel himself, his voice animated with an excitement I had not heard before. "Mr. Peterson, this is Gabriel Morales. Something has happened that you need to know about immediately. Can you come to the shop today?" "Is something wrong with the ring?" I asked, alarmed. No. The ring is fine. Better than fine. But there is something you need to see. Something inside the ring box. I cannot explain over the phone. Please, come as soon as you can." His cryptic message left me confused but hopeful. I promised to be there within the hour. As I drove downtown, my mind raced with possibilities. Had Gabriel found a way to lower the price? Had Amanda changed her mind and contacted him? Had there been some mistake about the ring's identity? When I arrived at the shop, Gabriel ushered me in quickly, flipping the open sign to closed and locking the door behind me. Come, he said, leading me not to his office but to a well-lit workbench in the back room. On the bench sat the familiar rosewood ring box, its deep burgundy color and brass hinges instantly recognizable. "This is Margaret's ring box," I confirmed, emotion welling up at the sight of it. "Yes, but there is more," Gabriel said, picking it up carefully. "Yesterday, I was preparing to clean and polish the ring for safekeeping until you returned. As I was examining the box, I noticed something unusual about its weight. It seemed heavier than it should be, given its size." He turned the box over in his hands, his fingers moving expertly along the edges. Many antique jewelry boxes, especially those custom-made for valuable pieces, contained hidden compartments. They were used to store additional small items or documents relating to the jewelry's provenance. Gabriel pressed firmly on what appeared to be a solid section of the box's base. To my amazement, a small drawer slid out from the bottom, previously invisible to the untrained eye. "A secret compartment," I whispered, leaning closer. "Yes," Gabriel confirmed, "and it is not empty." Inside the tiny drawer was a folded piece of stationery and what looked like a small packet wrapped in tissue paper. With delicate precision, Gabriel removed these items and placed them on a velvet cloth. "I did not open these," he assured me. "They are yours to examine." With trembling fingers, I unfolded the stationery first. I recognized Margaret's handwriting immediately, the sight of it sending a jolt through my heart. The letter was dated just 2 months before she passed away. "My dearest Amanda," it began. "If you are reading this, then you are preparing for your wedding day, and I am not there to share it with you. This ring you will wear has traveled through time, on the hands of women who faced wars, depressions, personal tragedies, and moments of incredible joy. My grandmother gave it to me on my wedding day, just as her grandmother gave it to her. The diamond itself was mined in South Africa in 1890. Great-grandmother Eleanor's fiancé worked for 3 years to save enough money to purchase it. The band was crafted by a local jeweler in Philadelphia, who incorporated the intricate designs that reminded Eleanor of the lace on her mother's wedding dress. When the Great Depression hit, your great-grandfather lost his job, and the family struggled to put food on the table. They sold furniture, books, even their home, but Eleanor refused to part with this ring. "Some things are worth more than money," she would say. "Some things keep us connected to who we truly are." The ring passed to my mother during World War II, when fabric was rationed and wedding dresses were made from parachute silk. She wore it proudly, even as they lived in a tiny apartment and saved pennies for groceries. And then it came to me. On the day I married your father, we were young and had very little, but we had love and family and tradition. Those things sustained us through every challenge life presented. Now it comes to you, my beautiful daughter. By the time you read this, you will be a woman grown, perhaps with different values and perspectives than mine. That is as it should be. Each generation must find its own way. But I hope you will remember that true wealth is not measured in dollars or possessions, but in love, in memories, in connections that transcend time and even death. Wear this ring with pride, knowing that a small part of me, and all the women who came before, will be with you as you begin your own journey of marriage. And someday, pass it to your daughter with the same love I feel for you now as I write these words. All my love, always, Mom. Tears streamed down my face as I finished reading. Margaret's voice was so clear in these words. It was as if she stood beside me, speaking them aloud. Gabriel discreetly handed me a handkerchief, then busied himself at another workbench, giving me privacy to compose myself. Once I had regained some composure, I carefully unwrapped the tissue paper package. Inside was a tiny collection of treasures. A small photograph of Margaret as a young bride, another of Amanda as an infant, and most touching of all, a small coil of baby hair tied with a blue ribbon, unmistakably from Amanda's first haircut. She prepared this before she died, I said wonderingly. She knew she would not be here for Amanda's wedding. Gabriel nodded solemnly. Your wife was a woman of great foresight and deep love. These mementos, this letter, they are beyond price, far more valuable than the diamond itself. Amanda needs to see these, I said, the path forward suddenly clear. She needs to understand what this ring truly represents. I agree, Gabriel said, and perhaps knowing the full story will help her reconnect with the values your wife wished to pass on. Will you continue to hold the ring until I can speak with her? I asked. Of course, Gabriel assured me. Take all the time you need. Some things are more important than business transactions. As I carefully placed the letter and mementos back in their secret compartment, I felt Margaret's presence more strongly than at any time since her passing. She had created this final gift for our daughter, a bridge across time and beyond death. I was determined that Amanda would receive it, exactly as Margaret had intended. The day after discovering the hidden compartment in the ring box, I learned from social media that Amanda and Jason would be attending a pre-wedding cocktail party at the country club. It was not an ideal setting for the conversation we needed to have, but I could not wait any longer. The wedding was now just 1 week away. I dressed in my best suit, the one I had worn to Margaret's funeral. It felt appropriate somehow, as if I were honoring her memory by carrying out this mission. The ring box sat on the passenger seat as I drove, the letter and mementos safely tucked inside its secret compartment. The country club lobby was imposing, with marble floors and crystal chandeliers. I gave Amanda's name at the reception desk, and the hostess directed me to a private event room overlooking the golf course. Through the glass doors, I could see about 50 well-dressed people mingling, champagne flutes in hand. Amanda stood near the center of the room, radiant in a white designer dress, Jason's arm possessively around her waist. I hesitated at the threshold, suddenly unsure of my approach. Creating a scene would only make Amanda defensive, but a glance at the ring box in my hand strengthened my resolve. This was not about me, or even about Margaret anymore. It was about preserving a connection to family history that Amanda was in danger of losing forever. Taking a deep breath, I entered the room. Heads turned as I made my way toward Amanda, my construction worker's build, an off-the-rack suit marking me as an outsider in this world of privilege. Amanda saw me approaching, and her smile faltered. She whispered something to Jason, whose expression hardened. "Dad," she said as I reached them, her voice tight with forced cheer. "What a surprise. I did not know you were invited." I need to speak with you, I said quietly. It is important. Can it wait? We are in the middle of something here, Jason interjected, gesturing vaguely at the gathering. I noticed an older couple, watching our interaction with interest. The resemblance to Jason was unmistakable. These must be his parents, William and Catherine Thompson. They began moving toward us, curiosity evident on their perfectly composed faces. It cannot wait, I said firmly but calmly. It is about your mother's ring. Amanda's face flushed. Dad, please, not now, she hissed. Is there a problem? William Thompson asked, joining our small circle. His wife stood beside him, assessing me with cool appraisal. No problem at all, Father, Jason answered smoothly. Mr. Peterson just stopped by briefly. He was actually leaving. I am not leaving until Amanda sees what is in this box, I stated, holding up the rosewood case. The ring box? Amanda frowned. Dad, we have been through this. The ring is sold. Yes, to Gabriel's fine jewelry, I confirmed. I went there, Amanda. I saw the ring. But more importantly, Gabriel discovered something neither you nor I knew about. Curiosity overcame her irritation. What are you talking about? The box has a hidden compartment, I explained, aware that we now had an audience of several guests. Your mother left something inside for you before she died. Something meant for your wedding day. Amanda's expression changed, the polished society veneer cracking to reveal a glimpse of the daughter I remembered. Mom left something. For me? I nodded, opening the box to reveal the empty velvet cushion where the ring had rested. The jeweler found a secret drawer in the base. Inside was a letter from your mother to you and some family mementos. I demonstrated how to press the hidden catch, and the small drawer slid open. Amanda gasped. With trembling hands, she took the folded letter that I offered her. What is all this about? Catherine Thompson asked, peering at the box with undisguised curiosity. Family history, I replied simply. 4 generations of it. Amanda unfolded the letter and began to read. I watched her face transform as she absorbed her mother's words. The sophisticated mask fell away completely, replaced by naked emotion. Tears welled in her eyes and spilled onto her cheeks, smearing her carefully applied makeup. Mom knew, she whispered. She knew she would not be here, and she wrote this for me. Yes, I said gently. And she left these as well. I showed her the tissue-wrapped packet. Amanda opened it with reverent care, gasping again when she saw the photos and the lock of her baby hair. She saved these all these years, Amanda said, her voice breaking. For my wedding day. Jason, who had been shifting impatiently throughout this exchange, finally interjected. This is all very touching, but we have guests to attend to, Amanda. You can read old letters another time. The dismissive tone seemed to snap Amanda out of her emotional moment. She looked at Jason as if seeing him clearly for the first time. This is my mother's last message to me, Jason. I think our guests can wait a few minutes. Jason's expression darkened. You are making a scene, he muttered. People are staring. Let them stare, Amanda replied, returning to the letter. As she continued reading, her shoulders began to shake with silent sobs. Amanda. Really? Jason hissed. Pull yourself together. This is embarrassing. Embarrassing? I repeated, unable to contain myself any longer. Your fiancé receiving a final gift from her deceased mother is embarrassing to you? William Thompson cleared his throat. Perhaps we should take this somewhere private, he suggested, glancing around at the openly curious onlookers. No, Amanda said suddenly, looking up from the letter with tear-streaked cheeks. No more hiding things. No more pretending. She turned to Jason. This ring meant everything to my mother. It has been in our family for 4 generations. Women who had nothing else kept this ring because it represented something more valuable than money. It is just an old ring, Jason said dismissively. We can buy 10 better ones. Amanda stared at him. That is exactly what you do not understand. You cannot buy what this ring represents. You cannot replace history and connection with a bigger diamond or a more expensive setting. Your father is manipulating you, Jason accused, playing on your emotions about your mother to make you feel guilty. We made a practical decision. The ring was just collecting dust in his house. The ring was meant for Amanda's wedding day, I explained, addressing Jason's parents directly. Margaret made me promise before she died. It was her dying wish. Catherine Thompson's expression softened slightly. You were not aware of this, Amanda? That the ring had such significance? I knew it was a family heirloom, Amanda admitted, her voice small. I knew Mom wanted me to have it for my wedding, but I convinced myself it did not matter, that Mom would understand. And now? I asked gently. Amanda looked at the letter again, then at the tiny lock of baby hair tied with blue ribbon. Now I understand what I nearly threw away. She turned to Jason, her expression resolute despite her tears. We need to get the ring back. Jason's face contorted with irritation. Do not be ridiculous. We already spent that money on the flowers. Besides, I got you a much better ring. It is not about better, Amanda insisted. It is about family, about history and connection. It is about your father making you feel guilty, Jason countered. Since when do you care about dusty old traditions? You were perfectly happy with our plans until he showed up with his sob story. The cruelty of his dismissal hung in the air. To my surprise, it was William Thompson who broke the silence. Jason, he said, his tone sharp with disapproval. That is quite enough. Jason turned to his father in disbelief. You cannot be taking his side. You know how important appearances are in our circle. Amanda agreed to sell that old trinket because she understands what really matters. What matters, William said slowly, is respect. For family, for tradition, for the wishes of those who are no longer with us. He turned to me. Mr. Peterson, I apologize for my son's behavior. It seems he has forgotten some fundamental values despite our best efforts. Catherine Thompson nodded in agreement. A mother's final gift to her daughter is not something to be dismissed, she added, her previously cool demeanor warming slightly. Jason, you will help Amanda recover this ring immediately. Jason's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. I will do no such thing. The money is spent. The plans are made. Amanda and I decided together. Did you? I asked Amanda gently. Or did you go along with what Jason wanted because it seemed important to him? Amanda looked down at the letter in her hands, then at the diamond engagement ring on her finger, its ostentatious size and sparkle suddenly seeming gaudy rather than impressive. I wanted to fit into this world, she admitted softly. I thought I needed to leave my old life behind, to belong here. I thought that is what growing up meant. Growing up means honoring where you come from, even as you move forward, I said. Your mother understood that. That is why she prepared this gift for you, to help you remember. Amanda nodded slowly, then with growing conviction. She slipped the enormous engagement ring off her finger and held it out to Jason. I want to postpone the wedding, she said firmly. I need time to think about what I really want and who I really am. Jason stared at the ring in her outstretched hand, then at her face. You cannot be serious. Over an old ring and a sentimental letter? The invitations are sent. The deposits are paid. I am completely serious, Amanda replied. I have lost sight of what matters. I need to find my way back. The standoff continued for several long seconds, neither of them backing down. Finally, Jason snatched the ring from her palm. Fine. Have your little crisis of conscience. But do not expect me to wait around while you play poor little nostalgic girl. He turned and stormed away, pushing through the crowd of stunned guests. William Thompson watched his son go, then turned to Amanda. I am truly sorry, my dear. Perhaps this revelation comes at exactly the right time, before vows were exchanged. He looked at me. Mr. Peterson, I believe we have much to discuss regarding how to handle this situation with minimal embarrassment to all parties. Perhaps we could meet tomorrow to sort things out? I nodded, grateful for his unexpected support. That would be fine. Thank you. As the Thompsons moved away to address the buzzing crowd of guests, Amanda collapsed into my arms, sobbing openly now. Dad, I am so sorry. I have been terrible. I forgot everything Mom taught me. I forgot who I was. It is all right, I soothed, holding her close. You remembered in time. That is what matters. The ring, she hiccuped through her tears. We have to get it back. We will, I promised. Gabriel is holding it for us. He understands its importance. Amanda pulled back slightly, looking up at me with red-rimmed eyes. How will we afford it? I spent the money on those ridiculous flowers. We will find a way, I assured her. Some things are worth any price. As we left the country club together, Amanda clutching the ring box with its precious contents, I felt Margaret's presence surround us both. She had reached across time and beyond death to save our daughter from a terrible mistake. In that moment, I knew with absolute certainty that love never truly dies. It simply changes form, continuing to guide and protect long after heartbeats cease. The days following the country club confrontation passed in a whirlwind of canceled reservations, returned gifts, and uncomfortable phone calls to wedding guests. William Thompson, true to his word, handled most of the financial fallout, insisting that since his son had been equally responsible for the situation, their family would cover the lost deposits and cancellation fees. Jason made no attempt to reconcile with Amanda. According to William, he had already begun dating a real estate heiress from Boston, posting pictures of their outings on social media barely a week after the engagement ended. Rather than being hurt, Amanda seemed relieved. I was in love with the idea of being somebody important, she confessed as we sat on our back porch, watching the sunset just as she and Margaret used to do. Jason made me feel special, chosen. But now I realize he never really saw me, the real me. He saw an accessory, someone who would look good on his arm and not embarrass him at social functions. You deserve someone who loves you for exactly who you are, I told her. Someone who values where you come from, not just where you are going. The most pressing issue remained recovering Margaret's ring. Gabriel continued to hold it for us, but he could not do so indefinitely. We needed $30,000, a sum neither of us had readily available. I could sell my car, I offered, referring to the classic Mustang Margaret and I had restored together. Amanda shook her head firmly. No way. That was your and Mom's project. We are not losing another family treasure. She thought for a moment. What about a payment plan? Could Gabriel let us pay over time? We met with Gabriel the following day to discuss our options. His shop was closed for the evening, giving us privacy for what promised to be a difficult conversation. Amanda gazed at the ring, now displayed on a velvet pad on Gabriel's desk, her expression a mixture of longing and regret. I cannot believe I nearly lost this forever, she whispered. And for what? Flowers that would have wilted in a week. Gabriel watched her with compassionate eyes. We all make mistakes, especially in grief. The important thing is that you have recognized the true value of your heritage. But recognizing it does not solve our financial problem, I pointed out pragmatically. We still need to find a way to buy it back. Gabriel nodded thoughtfully. In my 40 years as a jeweler, I have seen many beautiful gems and precious metals, but rarely have I encountered an heirloom with such a complete and well-preserved history. He gestured to the ring box with its secret compartment. This connection across generations is the true treasure. He picked up a calculator and made some notations. The standard retail markup would put this ring at $30,000. However, I am willing to return it to you for $20,000, essentially what I paid plus my basic overhead costs. It was a generous offer, but still beyond our immediate means. Amanda bit her lip, thinking hard. I have about $8,000 saved, she said. It was for the honeymoon, but obviously that is not happening now. And I can contribute another $12,000 from my retirement savings, I added, making a quick mental calculation of what I could afford to withdraw without completely jeopardizing my future security. Gabriel raised his hand. I have another suggestion. What if you paid the $8,000 as a down payment, and then made monthly installments for the remainder over the next year? No interest, just the remaining $12,000 divided into 12 payments. Amanda and I exchanged surprised glances. You would do that for us? I asked. Without any formal collateral? Gabriel smiled. I trust that the daughter of a woman who wrote such a beautiful letter understands the importance of keeping her word. He extended his hand to Amanda. Do we have an agreement? Amanda shook his hand firmly, tears of gratitude shining in her eyes. Thank you, Mr. Morales. I promise we will not let you down. The first payment was made that very day. Amanda emptied her savings account, and Gabriel carefully wrapped the ring and its box in tissue paper, then placed it in a velvet pouch embossed with his store's logo. Take good care of it, he said, as he handed it to Amanda. And remember its story. During the drive home, Amanda held the velvet pouch on her lap, occasionally opening it to peek at the ring, as if reassuring herself it was real. I need to read Mom's letter again, she said softly. I want to memorize every word. That evening, we sat in the living room, surrounded by photo albums and keepsakes from Margaret's life. For the first time since her death, we truly talked about her, sharing memories both happy and sad, laughing and crying together without restraint. I think I have been running from grief, Amanda admitted, as she looked through pictures of her childhood. Dating Jason, planning that ridiculous wedding, trying to become someone else. It was all about escaping the pain of missing her. I understand, I said. There were days I could barely get out of bed, knowing she would not be there. It is easier sometimes to pretend everything is fine, to keep busy with distractions. But we cannot run forever, can we? Amanda asked, looking up at me with eyes so like her mother's. No, I agreed. Sooner or later we have to face it. Find a way to carry our grief without letting it consume us. The following week, Amanda suggested we see a grief counselor together. Dr. Eleanor Banks specialized in family therapy, helping parents and children navigate loss as a unit rather than as individuals suffering in isolation. Our first session was difficult, raw emotions bubbling to the surface after years of suppression. But driving home afterward, I felt lighter somehow, as if sharing the burden had made it more bearable. Over the next several months, Amanda and I established new routines. Sunday dinners became a regular tradition again. We visited Margaret's grave together, bringing fresh flowers and sharing updates on our lives as if she could hear us. Perhaps she could. Amanda took a leave of absence from her marketing job to reassess her career path. I am good at what I do, she explained, but I am not sure it makes me happy. Mom always said work should bring meaning, not just money. She began volunteering at the elementary school where Margaret had taught, reading to children and helping with art projects. The joy it brought her was evident each time she shared stories about the kids' antics and innocent wisdom. Gradually, she decided to pursue a teaching credential of her own. I always thought I wanted a life of luxury and social status, she told me one evening. But watching those children discover new ideas, seeing their faces light up when they understand something for the first time, that feels more valuable than any country club membership or designer label. As for Margaret's ring, it remained in its display case in my bedroom. But now Amanda would often come in and look at it, sometimes wearing it briefly while reading her mother's letter yet again. I am saving it, she explained, for when the time is right. That time came nearly 2 years later. Amanda had been dating Michael, a science teacher from her school, for about 18 months. He was kind, thoughtful, and completely unimpressed by material displays of wealth. What impressed him was Amanda's compassion for her students, her quick wit, and her growing confidence in her authentic self. Their engagement was announced at a small gathering in our backyard, the rose gardens Margaret had planted providing a perfect backdrop. Michael had saved for months to buy a modest but beautiful engagement ring. When he presented it, Amanda accepted with genuine joy, slipping it onto her finger with a smile that reached her eyes. Later that evening, after the guests had gone, Amanda and I sat on the porch swing, enjoying the night air. "Michael is a good man," I said. "Your mother would have approved." "I know," Amanda nodded. "He reminds me a little of you, actually. The way he listens, really listens. The way he values actions over words." I squeezed her hand. "I am happy for you, sweetheart." "Dad," she said after a moment of comfortable silence, "I have been thinking about Mom's ring." "Oh?" "I want to wear it as my wedding band, just as Mom intended, to honor her and all the women in our family who came before." She looked at me earnestly. "Would that be all right?" Emotion welled up in my throat. "Nothing would make me happier," I managed to say. Nothing would have made her happier either. Their wedding took place exactly where Margaret had always envisioned it, in our backyard among her beloved roses. Just 70 guests. Close friends and family gathered to witness not just a marriage, but a reconnection with values nearly lost. As I walked Amanda down the aisle, I felt Margaret's presence more strongly than ever. When the moment came to exchange rings, Amanda slipped Margaret's diamond band onto her finger, then read aloud a portion of her mother's letter. There was not a dry eye to be found. The reception was simple, but joyful. Good food, heartfelt toasts, and genuine conversation. No ice sculptures, no celebrity entertainers, no social media spectacle. Just authentic connection and celebration. Late in the evening, I found Amanda sitting alone for a moment, admiring the vintage ring on her hand, now paired with Michael's engagement band. "Happy?" I asked, joining her. She nodded, her smile peaceful. "I feel like Mom is here somehow, like she has been guiding me back to myself all along." "I think she has," I agreed. "Through her letter, through her ring, through the values she instilled in you. Love does not end when someone dies. It just changes form." Amanda leaned her head against my shoulder, just as she used to do as a little girl. "I understand now what Mom meant about true wealth. It is not in things you can buy or sell. It is in connections that last, memories that sustain you, love that continues even when everything else changes." As I look back on those difficult years after Margaret's passing, the pain of betrayal and the joy of reconciliation, I am reminded of the unpredictable nature of grief. It can lead us astray, tempt us to abandon our true selves in search of numbness or distraction. But it can also lead us back home, back to what matters most. Margaret's ring now adorns our daughter's hand, just as it once adorned hers, her mother's, her grandmother's, and her great-grandmother's. The tradition continues, the connection unbroken, and someday, God willing, Amanda will share its story with her own daughter, adding another chapter to a family legacy built not on wealth or status, but on love that transcends even death. What treasured family heirlooms do you have that connect you to loved ones who have passed? Have you ever discovered unexpected messages or mementos from someone after they were gone? Share your stories in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need a reminder about what truly matters in life. Thank you for joining me today, and may you treasure the connections that make your life truly rich.